If you hear me!
What's good, people, and welcome back to another episode of Holla If You Hear Me Weekly, the show where we break down the biggest moments in WWE this week, crack open the vault with the ring historian, and throw hands over Nero's hot take hit list. I'm your humble host, Fraz, and joining me as always is the kayfabe assassin, Mr. Andi Nero, and the ring historian himself, Dirty Dave. Guys, you know the drill. Hit the like button, smash the bell for notifications, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a beat. Now, without further ado, gentlemen, let's get into it. First up, it's time to talk about what went down across the WWE this week. This is News Drop, where we run through all of the top stories from Raw, SmackDown, and everything else WWE threw at us. So I've got a few stories, gents, I'd like to cover. First one being, obviously, biggest event for me of the week, John Cena's Pipebomb moment on SmackDown. Dave, you've been around long enough to see the original and the new version. Does Cena's promo hit the same way as Punk's did back then?
What am I? So what? I'm 14 years old, am I? I could be older. 2011, wasn't it? I think. Yeah. It's difficult to replicate something that was unique. I think Punk's was the first of its kind in that way, certainly in the modern era, where you actually thought he really was going off script. His contract was up. It was title versus, contract build, and the whole thing was he was going to take the title and leave. So there's similarities between this one. Was it original? No. He's basically copied CM Punk's and used it against him. It's all right. It was a good promo. I like it. It's really cool. It's good for Cena. Is it groundbreaking? Is it revolutionary? Was it that shocking? I didn't think so. But I like Cena's work at the moment, so I like the promo.
Wasn't it what everyone really wanted from Cena, though, on this heel run? It's all kind of been a little bit Weasley so far. Against Punk, it seems like it's a bit more personal.
Yeah, they've got the history, haven't they? Which, if you've got more history, you've got more data to use against each other, so you can be more invested and you can go deeper and you can go further with things. Personal opinion on people, isn't it? I suppose some people don't like Cena. I've loved his heel turn, and I've loved him so far since he's been back doing this, so I've got no problems with him. Yeah, like I say, great promo. Not taking anything away from it, but it's not new. It wasn't. Like I say, it wasn't revolutionary, but it was great coming from Cena. We haven't heard him talk like that. So from that point of view, fantastic.
Andy, any comments there?
Well, one wouldn't wish to spoil an upcoming segment within the show, but yes, I do have some thoughts on the situation. It was a good promo. In the moment, felt organic, felt heartfelt, and like Dave said, really captured the attention of not just ourselves but everyone, really, which again is an important thing at the moment. So I enjoyed it. I liked the little wrinkle at the end, the fact that he sort of almost paid respect to Punk, even tongue-in-cheek, when he said, "And thanks for letting me rip off your promo to make you look even more foolish." That's basically him saying, "Cheers for letting me rip off your promo." Might as well have just tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Cheers, bud." So yeah, it was good.
My favourite part was the fact that CM Punk laid there for what seemed like 20 minutes. Didn't
Them
move.
Slim Jim tables, mate. Them Slim Jim tables
Jesus
are hard.
Christ. 100%. All right, well, let's move on to something that could seriously impact WWE summer plans, and that is the injury to Liv Morgan. I know we spoke about it last week, but I think details have come out. She dislocated the shoulder and she's headed for surgery. Could be out for up to 16 weeks. Andy, want to come to you on this one. How big of a blow is it to WWE creatively, especially as she is central to so many stories at the moment?
Well, I mean, we've been saying for the last few weeks that, or prior to the injury, that she was in like 3 separate storylines, 4 separate feuds, or something ridiculous like that. She had the thing going on with Roxy. She's got this long-running thing going on with Rhea that's still rolling on. She'd now had that thing with Nikki as well, and it was just like, so I mean, Evolution. I honestly have no idea. I don't know what Nikki Bella's going to be doing, if anything at all. They'll have to pivot with Nikki Bella because that was rumored to be the match for Liv and Nikki, or possibly even it might have been Liv and Raquel versus both Nikki and Brie, because I know Brie's made some moves, should we say, on the interwebs as to wanting to come back. She's made it clear she wants to return. But yeah, that probably would have been the way to go for Evolution. Would have been Raquel and Liv versus the Bellas for the titles. But obviously that's now put pay to that, it would seem. It is a shame. I personally love watching Liv work. I think she's a really, really, really improved wrestler over the last few years, and she's captivating. She holds the attention of the crowd, holds the attention of the viewer, and it is a big loss. I think a big loss.
And Dave, when one door closes, another one opens. Do you reckon Roxanne's going to step through that?
Yeah, I think that's the. Well, you never know, do you? I mean, that's the obvious pit. I think you could have either Nikki Bella and Rhea Ripley take on, Roxanne in her place, and that can be a tag title match, or you could have both the Bellas in there. So you've still got a tag title match there. It is a shame. It's a crying shame that Liv's out. Not quite sure how I'm going to cope if she's off TV for that length of time. I think we should do a Vince Russo, and the bottom line is it's a TV program based on wrestling, so every now and again it is okay to have people on the show that aren't wrestling. It's not your bread and butter. You don't want 80 promos and 2 wrestling matches, but it is okay to have her out there. So if she's physically able to do stuff, I expect that we will see her earlier than her injury time, but probably not straight away, because we need to build, potentially, if they're going to put Roxanne in and take her place, she needs to do enough to make Liv jealous enough to come back early. That's how I think we'll go with this one.
Yeah, I mean, 16 weeks, 4 months, takes up to October.
Well, I can't cope with that. So something has to happen.
It's a long time, isn't it?
Thank God for Stephanie Vaquer.
Bottom, indeed. All right, well, next one. Dom's officially out of Night of Champions with what they're calling a rib injury. And I think Dave might agree with me here. I've got to be honest. Part of me wonders if it's actually an injury or if it is just the fact that Dom or AJ don't want to go to Saudi because of what's going on at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's a work.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but they'll make it into a storyline. If it's to do with not wanting to go to Saudi, fair play, because I think it's insane that they're doing that currently. But and I wouldn't blame them at all. And there's no way I'd go, so I'm not going to stand here and say they should be going, because I think it's ridiculous and they shouldn't be going. But yeah, I think it's a work. They'll work it into the storyline. He's been trying to escape AJ Styles for ages, so it's a classic heel move, regardless of how legitimate it is. If it is legitimate, I wonder what he's done. Pulled a muscle in the shower, maybe. I don't know. Rib injury.
Did he have a match on Raw?
Nope.
No,
I mean, do you have one last?
Well, that's when they announced he was injured.
Could be a house show over the weekend, but I don't think so. I haven't seen anything. That's why I think it's a work. It's all very, very, very quiet. You'd have heard something.
To be fair, I want to chime in here, but I can't really blame either one of them. At the end of the day, they're both fathers, husbands. They've both got young families, especially Dom. I think if Dom has got kids, they can't be very old. I know he's not. I know he's married, but AJ's got a couple of youngsters. You don't want to risk it. You wouldn't want to. I mean, Kath doesn't even let me drive at the moment if it's too wet. Or I mean, she's constantly texting me asking me if I think the world's going to end. If I said to her I'm off to Saudi for a week, she'd go spare. So I can't really blame them if they choose not to go at all. So absolutely not. I would.
Yeah, I think it's really weird that, the bottom line is they run shows Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, sometimes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So they'll have arenas booked in America because they'll be doing house shows. Why it hasn't been moved to one of them, I don't know. And then we just go over to Saudi when it's safer. But I can't believe they're still going. So, but there's still a couple of days left. Who knows? I certainly wouldn't be going.
Well, I'm certainly going to watch it on Saturday, whether it's in Saudi or whether it's in London. And with that being said, why don't we take a look at the full match card for Night of the Champions? Not a prediction show. We're saving that for later. And let me just bring
another video.
Yes, indeed.
A dedicated prediction show.
Because our last one did absolute gangbusters. So, why the hell not?
So, is there anything on the card that really sticks out? Does this feel like a big event match card for you guys?
Andy, do you want to go first?
Well, I mean, in the sense that it's literally got the King and the Queen in the ring, and that match between Cena and Punk, yes, those three matches make it a big event. Rhea Ripley versus Raquel in a street fight could literally be on Raw. I think it could have been on Raw on Monday, or could be on Raw next Monday. I'd be more than happy for that to main event Raw next Monday, or open the show even. Zayn and Karrion Kross, I think it gets Sammy on the show, because obviously we haven't even talked about the King of the Ring situation yet. It gets Sammy on the show, and that was always inevitable. It's an important part of why they go to Saudi, or it's an important part of going to Saudi for WWE, is to wheel out Sami Zayn, to get him over with the crowd and get some salam aleikums and whatnot. Karrion Kross, very important to get him on TV, because again, it capitalizes on the zeitgeist, on this whole movement behind him. It's his first PLE match since 2022, I believe, or 2023, one of the two. So it's been a long time, and yeah, I'm excited for it. The little bit on Raw that they gave us was pretty good. Nice little wrinkle to that, so I'm happy for that. But not a main show, like a Backlash kind of level pay-per-view. Like an Unforgiven. That's where I'd go with it.
Davey?
Yeah, well, you've got one of the biggest title matches, going back to the 2010s, 2011s, 2012s. In his last run, the last time we'll ever see CM Punk versus John Cena. So I think I would say that's a pretty big deal. I think you've probably got the two most senior top level tier talent in a King of the Ring final that we've probably ever had. I know Asuka's only just come back, but at her peak she was absolutely outstanding. Multiple time women's champ on various shows, taking on Jade Cargill, who's the Goldberg Brock Lesnar supposedly of the women's division these days. So that's going to be interesting. We've been following the Bloodline storyline for years. Maybe it's a bit early. Maybe because it isn't SummerSlam, we're thinking it's not as good a card. But I think Solo versus Jacob Fatu is going to be awesome. The street fight, yeah, take it or leave it. And ultimately for Karrion Kross, I'm just glad he's getting a match. To be perfectly honest, I mean we've been waiting for months for this, so I'm very interested in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those matches. So what's that? 80%. I'll take that.
I did read a thing earlier on X, I think it was, or one of the the wrestling sort of rap sheet sort of pages, basically saying that the reason Cross is not getting the time of day, even though he's on main event quite a lot, he's not getting that main event sort of Raw weekly in-ring run, is because apparently he doesn't like taking bumps, which is very interesting. I do know he's got a lot of problems with his collarbone. I think he's actually not got a collarbone on one of his shoulders. Yeah, or he's like either not got a collarbone or not got a rotator cuff or something. He's got a really, really long-standing injury, and he doesn't like bumping on it. So, which is all well and good when you're the big guy against all the little guys like he was during NXT. But now he's on the main roster. He's surrounded by these guys that are similar height and taller. They're going to expect him to bump for him. And it's whether or not there's some conversation as to whether or not he's right for the position, right for the company, if he's not willing to bump. And people not liking it. So, who knows?
Does seem interesting. Why spend any time investing in him if he can't wrestle?
Well, indeed. Because I suppose he's never had to before. In TNA, he was the big fish. In NXT, he was huge. Like, do you know what I mean? Compared to the rest of the guys, I mean, he was fighting people like Finn Balor and Adam Cole, who were 5'8", 5'9", and he's like 6'4". So, you know, it's...
Why put him on the main roster then? And why invest TV time and, you know, time? TV money is expensive. You're investing millions of pounds in, even if he's only on for 5 minutes. Someone else could be getting that time, couldn't they?
Exactly.
Seems a very bizarre business choice, but maybe let's see how many bumps he takes. We'll do a carrying cross bump count at Night of Champions. There you go. So maybe we'll add that into our prediction show. In that match, how many bumps is carrying cross going to take? Yeah, Andy's probably going to go safe with 2. I might dare break 3. I'm not sure. I'll think about it as the show goes on.
I'm excited. I think every match on there is... Well, you're going to see Rhea Ripley, aren't you? That's your favourite, Andy?
She'll be fully clothed, though. She'll be fully clothed. They'll all be top to toe, won't they?
Yeah, but it might be skin tight, so it might be okay.
Oh, well, it'll be skin tight, but...
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. We're in Saudi, so you can't show skin or flesh.
What's Jade going to do? She always wears the old body stockings, doesn't she? But it's usually see-through and doesn't cover anything, so...
I mean, they really should be having like a Burka on a pole match instead of a street fight. Well, they could, couldn't they?
Yeah, possibly.
What? It's not racist. It's what they'd wear. I don't. You boys, far too sensitive. Far too sensitive.
No, I just find it funny as well.
Hey, if Vince Russo was writing this show, that is exactly what would be happening. There'd be some sort of, you know, terrorist in a coffin match. There'd be a bloody Burka on a pole. There'd be a pink slip involved. Someone's getting fired. It'd be chaos. Absolute chaos.
There'd be these big boxes over each corner of the ring, and in all but one of them is a picture, an actual picture of the Prophet Muhammad. And if you find the picture of Prophet Muhammad, then obviously bad things happen. But if you manage not to find that box, then you win the world title. That's a Vince Russo match right there.
That's an interesting. Yeah, that's
how Booker won the world title, isn't it?
GI Bro.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that's your news drop for this week. I'm going to hand over to Dirty Dave to crack open the vault and hit us with a history lesson.
Oh, go on then. Why not? As we're talking about Night of Champions, and one of the biggest matches at Night of Champions is the King of the Ring tournament. It's June. It's traditionally King of the Ring month. So back in the days, 93 to 2002, King of the Ring was every June. So naturally, I'm going to have some from the King of the Ring. But don't panic. That's not all. As a matter of fact, just to shock it up, as we just mentioned G.I. Bro, I've actually got one for him. This week, what was it, in 2000, he came out as G.I. Bro on a Shawn Michaels thing at WrestleMania 12. Do you remember that? Did anyone watch WCW then? Probably not. No, it's horrific. Anyway, but there you go. Go back. If you're really bored and you want to watch the Great American Bash from 2000, you get to see Booker T dressed up in army gear coming out on like a zip line. Is that what you call it?
That would be a zip line, yes.
Yeah. And he looked, I mean, comfortable would not be the word I would use for Booker T. So classic Booker there. But yeah, a King of the Ring. If you've watched our King of the Ring show, you will know that one of Fraz's favourite King of the Ring winners of all time, he put in the best argument for him to progress through in our King of the Ring tournament. That is the monstrous Mabel. Won the 1995 King of the Ring this week in wrestling history. He had 2 monumental battles, one with The Undertaker and one with Savio Vega, to come out on top in that match. I think really the only match that pay-per-view is known for is the Kiss My Foot match between Bret Hart and Jerry the King Lawler. And that's sad. Quite possibly the worst King of the Ring ever. One of the worst pay-per-views ever. It was in Philadelphia, and almost all through the event, the crowd were chanting ECW. So not the best King of the Ring. So hopefully I've got some better facts about King of the Ring. More modern times. Andy, you mentioned somebody's name, and I've sort of thought to myself, that's a challenge to find something about them. Juventud Guerrera. Well, I have found one, and that is this week in wrestling history. 20 years ago, 2005, the Mexicals made their SmackDown debut. They came out and interrupted Paul London and Chavo Guerrero's Cruiserweight Championship match and performed some dastardly moves on both participants before... they came out on one of those big grass-cutting things.
Lawnmower.
Yeah, but no, the big sit-on ones.
John Deere.
Something like that. Probably.
Forrest Gump one, yeah.
I mean, they'd stolen it, so I suppose that probably had something to do with it, but there you go. In the ruthless aggression era, we also had on Raw Vince McMahon standing proud in the ring, challenging all of his talent to find some ruthless aggression. That's right, Austin had gone, The Rock's getting ready to film, Vince needs to find his new star. Everybody was challenged to find some ruthless aggression. That was then cut short when the NWO came out and interrupted them. This, of course, is a different NWO. It's Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, who both aren't wrestling at this point, The Big Show and X-Pac. Probably most famous section here is Vince McMahon telling Kevin Nash that if he doesn't start living up to expectations, he'll join the unemployment line with his buddy Scott Hall, to which Kevin Nash scratches his face back to Vince McMahon. So there we go. And of course, we all know what happened there. A week later, he tears his quad. So doesn't do very well, does he?
So he doesn't walk.
Here's one for all you Seth Rollins lovers out there. Can you believe 10 years ago, this week in wrestling history, J&J Security were created to help support Seth Rollins in his championship run in the summer of 2015? Everybody remember J&J Security?
I do.
Jamie Noble, wasn't it?
Jamie Noble and
Joey Mercury.
And Joey Mercury with his rearranged face and all. Absolutely amazing. I can give you a couple of old ones and then I'll hit you with one more King of the Ring, shall I? 1985, Hulk Hogan and Don Morocco had their final match out of a best of 3 series for the World Championship in a steel cage match in a sold out Madison Square Garden. The first match they had, Hogan lost via DQ. The second match, there was a count out and Hogan won. So they're 1-1, goes to a steel cage. And in a terrible end that Jesse Ventura wouldn't be able to tolerate today, Hogan walked out of the door to win the match. In 9 minutes as well. Can you imagine a 9-minute steel cage match? It's like, what? There's no time for that. But
excellent.
There you go. Here's a really important one. Triple threat matches. How long have they been around?
A while.
Yeah? Do you want to know when WWF's first ever triple threat televised triple threat match was?
Let me guess.
Go on.
97?
Oh, he's got it.
Really?
He's got it. It's the summer of the Hart Foundation. It's 1997. It was Owen Hart versus Triple H versus Goldust for the Intercontinental title. It was a anniversary of the Intercontinental title, so Pat Patterson was the referee. Owen Hart hits a spinning enziguri on Triple H. Goldust hits an elbow off the top rope. Owen Hart pushes Goldust out of the ring and pins Triple H to retain. Hart Foundation music plays. Brian Pillman's in there. It's carnage. It's great. But yeah, the first live televised triple threat match. So there you go. I thought I had to get that in because it's Owen Hart and it's the Hart Foundation, and I knew Andy.
As late as 97.
Yeah, live televised. So yep, I know, crazy, innit? Fraz, I promised you a King of the Ring one. It wasn't Mabel. I can't do that to you. This week in wrestling history, 25 years ago, the year 2000, the Millennium King of the Ring award winner, Kurt Angle. Your Olympic gold medalist, your Olympic hero. It's true, Kurt Angle wins the King of the Ring tournament of 2000. But some funnier things happened that week on SmackDown, I thought, after the King of the Ring. One, Rikishi won his first ever and only Intercontinental Championship when he defeated Chris Benoit. And also, probably more famously, Edge and Christian came out dressed up as fat Elvis Presleys on that edition of SmackDown. Go and find that on YouTube if you haven't seen it. It's amazing. It's when Edge and Christian were doing their 5-second pose.
Oh, I love it.
Absolutely amazing. Andy, I know you kind of like Kane as well. So I'll take you back to Raw, Madison Square Garden, the World Heavyweight Championship, Triple H versus Kane. It's the world title versus Kane's mask. That's right. It's the first proper time Kane takes his mask off. Not by accident. Proper comes off.
Yeah.
And then the last one, people, because it is King of the Ring. 1996, 29 years ago, the most famous promo in King of the Ring history. It's probably the worst King of the Ring tournament in history. Well, actually, no, 1995 is probably got to be the worst. But it's Stone Cold Steve Austin telling everybody his famous promo, Austin 316 says, I just whipped your ass. There you go, lads. That is from the vault. From history,
Jesus.
You've had some 80s, some 90s, some 2000s, a little bit of controversy, and some ones that I bet some people out there are not going to believe. So I challenge you guys, go and Google it if you think I'm wrong. Put some comments in there. Let me know what you think. But I can tell you right now, I'm right. They're all right. Fraz, back to you, my man.
Dirty Dave, that has got to be the most enjoyable history lesson I've ever had in my life. It's fucking spectacular.
Oh,
And more so that I got that right. The first
Yes.
ever televised triple threat match. I bet you're surprised with that as well.
Yeah.
Unlucky, Andy. Got there before you, son.
Lucky.
No, that was amazing,
Lucky.
Dave. Thank you so much. Why don't we turn the heat up and swing it over to our man, the kayfabe assassin, with his hot take hit list of the week. Andy, take it away, my friend, whilst I refill my glass with a bit more Tennessee whiskey.
So, while I crack my knuckles, because this is hot, you kind of cucked me a little bit earlier on, Davey. John Cena, John, I'm going to call you John from here on out. John Cena's pipe bomb. It was brilliant. Reworked brilliance. Absolutely. But in the long run, and I've found this quite a lot this week, the IWC and the wider wrestling audience are blowing this way out of proportion. John Cena's promo from SmackDown was a work of heel shithousery art and was exactly and achieved exactly what it was intended to do. It created a massive buzz and it's got people talking. Here we are right now and we're talking about it. All people, from your casual marks to passionate fans on all of the socials like X and Instagram. From budding YouTube channels with just a few subs to seasoned veterans like the Busted Open Radio and all of those guys who are basically ramming this thing home for clickbait and ad revenue. Basically, it's done exactly what the chief content officer, Triple H, would have wanted it to do. You may sense a big, hairy, stinking butt coming up, and far be it from me to not provide you with one of those. But let's all pump the brakes and take just a moment to think rationally and be brutally honest. This promo, whilst excellent in its own right, is made comparatively better by the sheer fact that this year has been pretty damn average when it comes to promos. There have been highlights, for sure, big moments. Cody telling Rock to go fuck himself, huge. Punk after the chamber with his whole "where you at, Rock" bullshit, awesome. Cena after the chamber as well, that victim speech was really, really cool and it really solidified his heel turn. Punk post-Mania when he called out Heyman, oh, it was awesome. And Heyman losing it with Jay and nearly having a heart attack was gold. Some of Karrion Kross's work, especially that work shoot after Mania and the podcast he did, was gold. And we'd be remiss to not mention the work of Naomi and Liv, which has all been tippy-top as well. But on balance, let's not get it twisted, people. The fact is that 2025 thus far has been dominated by little more than yeeting and yada meaning. And of course, they've also had Cody, who's been whiter than white, slicker than slick, and cleaner than clean, and let's be honest, kind of fucking boring. So this promo, a reworking of the famed 2011 pipe bomb. Don't get me wrong, it's excellent, and undoubtedly a highlight, scratch that. It's the highlight of Cena's run so far as a heel. But for me, it doesn't even rank in the top 20 promos from the last 2 years, 20 years, 10 years, however long you want to paste it. It's probably not even going to make the top 50 of all time, I don't think. And I think foreshadowing-wise, if and when this channel decides to do a top 10 or top 5 or however many promos of the last 25 years, I don't think we're going to be talking about this promo. I don't think it's going to finish in any of our lists, maybe one. So here's the all-important take from this. This promo, while very good, is by its very definition overrated. It misses the point of what the first pipe bomb achieved And I don't think it even breaks into John Cena's top 10 best promos of all time. And that, boys, concludes my hot take hit list for this week.
Very well said, Andrew. I don't know. I was interested in the match before Cena's pipe bomb, so it didn't really do massive bits for me. I'm not a massive Cena fan anyway, but I thought it was good. I liked his whole, "Hey Claudio." That was about it, really.
It's whether you've seen what's happened since. I literally have, much like we all have every single week, we look through what else is happening in the wrestling YouTube space. Every single big hitter, Busted Open, Rikishi, Meltzer, all of the big guys that do the weekly podcasts have absolutely hammered home. I know it's the big ticket item from this week, and it's the thing we opened the show with. But is it that big of a deal? It's not the greatest promo of all time, and lots of people on things like X and Instagram are lauding it like it's an improvement on the pipe bomb, like it's the greatest John Cena promo he's ever dropped, and it's not even close. It's at best a pale imitation of the original. That's my hot take. That's why it's there.
I still think it's the best version of Cena we've seen since he turned heel, and I thought it was good. It's done stuff for the match. People are even more excited about seeing it now. And hopefully from that we'll get a retort from Punk maybe on SmackDown. Even if we don't, it's still going to be a fucking quality match. So I don't know about overrated. I think people are definitely entitled to their opinions, and if they want to say it's the greatest promo of all time or it's seen as greatest promo who's ever cut, then that's up to them, isn't it? I don't personally see it as that, but I did think it was good. I mean, you've already told us what you think about it.
Yeah, but I mean, just to elaborate, I suppose, a little bit. I mean, we're 14 years from Punk's pipe bomb, so we're a generation away. So there's lots of people that didn't see it and don't really understand probably why Cena was saying half the stuff he was saying. I mean, it pretty much is a carbon copy and his version, but, great heel work, isn't it? Take something you face or your opponent has done and sort of almost make a mockery of it, or use it to make yourself sound better. So, I mean, it's classic heel, but, no, like I said earlier, it's not new, it's not revolutionary, it's not earth-shattering, it's not, oh my God. I didn't react in any of the ways I did when I saw sort of Punk's, but I suppose I'm not supposed to, because it was a carbon copy, but, It was a different take on Cena. It's a different way for Cena to get heat and to make this fight more personal, as if we really need it, because there is a lot of history in it. But again, a generation away, so new fans need to be invested in this match, and that's the way of doing it, making it personal.
Well, Andy, thank you for your hot take this week. I'm sure many will disagree, and there might be a few that do agree. And if you do, leave a comment. We'd most appreciate it. But it's time for the round table. This is where we pick a big question, I guess, from the week in WWE, and as a team we delve deep. No rules, no filters, just honest takes. So, gentlemen, the question I pose this week: does the King and Queen of the Ring tournament actually feel like it matters this year? We've got big names in the finals: Cody, Randy, Jade and Asuka, all of them already stars, some main eventers, some are already established. Is it just a crown that they're going to use as a prop, or does it actually carry any weight this year? Andy, I'll throw it to you first.
Thanks. I'd actually like to cut in there, so thank you for that. No, I don't think it's worth doing. I've enjoyed it for what it's been worth, but I think it carries. It's been odd. You just almost hit the nail on the head there. We've got two long-established, massively over main eventers, both faces in the men's, neither of whom actually need to win the King of the Ring. The King of the Ring, from what I remember, was always about building the next star, giving someone the next opportunity, making someone the next top guy. Not, let's take a bunch of top guys, two in this case, and make them one top guy. It's like, well, you've already got 2 top guys, and since you've also got 3, in fact, you've got Gunther, Seth, and Cena. Then you've also got now winner of the King of the Ring as well. Like, it doesn't need it. It never needed it. Especially when you could have built some people like Sammy, who possibly could have benefited from it. People like Chad, who could have benefited from it. Penta would have definitely benefited from being King of the Ring. You know, going back to the old school mentality of let's build for the future, that's probably what the King of the Ring was for, no?
Yeah, agreed. Chuck LA Knight in there as well.
Absolutely. And Jacob, Solo.
I mean, maybe not so much on the women's side. Jade Cargill, this is kind of like a nice step up for her to fit into that main event scene. But she could quite easily get into a title match, couldn't she? I think especially if things pan out the way I've said it would do a few weeks ago, with Naomi cashing in, winning the title, and then, you know, the natural selection there is a Naomi and possibly Bianca triple threat. And Asuka's not, you know, new to us, is she? She's already, as Dave said, she's already a multiple-time world champion. She doesn't need to be there. I will just say I am very excited for Randy and Cody. That is a match that I think we've all wanted to see. I would have liked to have seen Randy be heel, and you never know, he might turn. But I think it's just so obvious for me that they're pushing Cody. Cody's going to win and fight Cena at SummerSlam night 2. That's going to be a main event. And whether or, you know, flip a coin with Asuka and Jade Cargill, either could not necessarily main event, but pull off a world title match with their respected champions on their brand. It just it goes back to what you were saying, and Dave will agree with me here, I'm sure. Like, back in the day, King of the Ring meant something. I'd prefer it when all the matches are on one night. That's what the King of the Ring was about. However,
War of attrition.
but I have enjoyed the Fatal 4-Ways that they've had on Raw and SmackDown, because it's given you another reason to be invested in the show. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the very least we should have had the semi-finals and the final on the pay-per-view, because now we have Queen of the Ring as well. You know, how can you do 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 matches? It's just not going to happen anymore, is it? No. There'd have to be 2 or 3 minute matches like the old Wrestling Classic pay-per-view. But no one wants to see that now. So, yeah, I take your point. I would definitely have at least the semi-final and the final, because you need to tell a story. This Randy Orton Cody Rhodes scenario, I mean, if you had the semi-final on the night, you know, Randy could beat Sami Zayn, but Randy could have, like, tweaked his knee or something, and, you know, that sort of gives him an out. That could also give Cody, almost push him a little bit heelish, because he could be working on Randy's knee, because remember, the whole thing here is about Cody wouldn't make the tough choice at WrestleMania. Yeah. That's why he lost. You know, ultimately, this whole scenario is going to flip, and he will make the hard choice, probably on Cena, and then he'll turn heel, and Cena will finish his run face. That's probably where we're going. It's just a matter of how we tease that. So, yeah, you could have told a bit more of a story. But then, having said that, you can have a longer match now, and you can tell that same story. So I think it'll be interesting to see how we go. In the interest of time and not wanting to rush, I agree with you. I think on a whole, usually it's better to build somebody. But realistically, and this is not saying that I don't like these people, but if we look at the bracket really quickly, you know, is Braun Breaker, Dominik Mysterio, Penta ready for a world title match? Because that's what the winner of the King of the Ring title gets now, which was different back then. It was kind of intermittent whether they did or didn't. Aleister Black, Carmelo Hayes, LA Knight possibly. Andrade, Damian Priest, Nakamura, Bronson Reed, Rusev and Sheamus. It's a 2-night SummerSlam. It's massive. Realistically, are any of them really going to go ready to go to SummerSlam to face for the championship? We look at last year, Gunther had just come off that huge Intercontinental title run, so he was almost made as well, to be fair. But you know, that was more an additional step to the title. And I think the same can be said with the women's brackets. It's not that I don't like any of them. I all think they're great, and in the right storyline, they could they could be challenging. I think it's a bit quick for the people that were put in these brackets to go for the title at SummerSlam. So that's why I think we're where we are with the Jade Cargill and Asuka and the Randy Orton Cody Rhodes. But for me, I think this Randy Orton Cody Rhodes match is going to be a pivotal story point for Cody Rhodes and what happens next. And of course, it'll be a really good match, and we haven't seen it since 2013. I think Raw 2013.
Yeah. You sent the post today in the group chat.
Yeah, so yeah, different strokes for different folks. It's probably not how I would do it. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong.
If you had to fantasy book it, Dave, who would you have in the finals of both?
Putting
you on the spot, I know.
Well, what with the finalists we've got now, so I can't change the finalists.
Basically, no. Who was in the original tournament? So, including all the Fatal Fours, who would have you had in your final for the men and the women?
Well, if there weren't time constraints on Cena and the Seth Rollins storyline with the Money in the Bank, I've got to say it's time. It's now or never to pull the trigger on LA Knight, whether you like him or not. And I think the fact that we haven't pulled the trigger now means we're never going to, unless there's an injury or something crazy and we want to do something like shocking. Sometimes back in the day, Batista would tear his bicep and there'd be a battle royal and Kurt Angle would win the title out of nowhere when he was actually on Raw, and you'd bring him over to SmackDown. So something crazy like that. And from the women's side, that's a tough one, because they're either completely made and they don't need it, or they're nowhere near a title shot. That's the women's division in a nutshell. Everybody's either really over or they're really not. So I probably wouldn't pick anyone else but Jade Cargill, even though she's not my cup of tea as a wrestler. But from a storyline, I can see why they're doing that. And she needs it. She's only been a tag champ, so it makes sense. Yes,
not Vakir.
One, she's already massively over. Two, she's only just come up to Raw. I mean, she's good. Like I say, she's good. Like I said, that half the roster for me, the women's roster, they're either there and ready or they're not at all. Like Michin, we're not going to see her fight for the title. We're not going to see Piper Niven fight for the title. We're not going to see Kairi Sane fight for the title. Morgan's over, Ripley's over. They don't need the King of the Ring, or Queen of the Ring, sorry. Cargill probably needs it. Nia Jax doesn't need it, won it last year. Alexa Bliss doesn't need it. Charlotte Flair doesn't need it. Alba Fire is never going to wrestle for the title. Candice LeRae is never going to wrestle for the title. Asuka, she doesn't need it, but she could wrestle for the title. Ivy Nile, never going to wrestle for the title. Raquel Rodriguez, never going to wrestle for the title. Stephanie Vakir is probably the only one that sits in between, but I'd still put her in the massively over, and she could easily wrestle for the title by winning the Queen of the Ring. But they obviously haven't gone with that one. So,
Andy, who would have you had as your winners?
To be honest with you, I would have taken this back to the very, very start and made the decision not to have this go for the championship. I think you devalue the King of the Ring. Ironically, you devalue it by making it a stepping stone for a championship match. If you think about it, Kurt Angle won the King of the Ring. Did he get an immediate title shot, or was it as a result of winning the King of the Ring, or was it just a prop? Because I thought things like Steve Austin, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, Billy Gunn, Ken Shamrock, The Rock, Triple H, they didn't get title shots from winning the King of the Ring. The King of the Ring was the thing to win. It's like, it's, to me, if you had taken the title shot out of the equation, you wouldn't have had people like Randy Orton in this. You wouldn't have had Cody Rhodes. You wouldn't have had Jey Uso in this. These are people that are in that upper echelon who have got title wins, who have got championship reigns, who don't need to win King of the Ring to do it. The only one in that opening round that would make sense as the winner is Sami Zayn in terms of that regard. But I would probably have gone... When you take those three out of it, Randy, Cody, and Jay, you can make any one of the rest of that field the winner if it's not for the title, if it's not for a title shot, and it makes the King of the Ring the thing. Yeah, you give him a crown, you give him a scepter, you make that gimmick, that prop, the thing to have. They've got one in NXT, I think, the Heritage Cup, which it kind of like is a title, but it's not. When you look at the Queen of the Ring situation, I think you said it right. Asuka doesn't really need it. Charlotte never needed it. Cargill does. I personally would have thought that Kyrie could have used it as well. Returning, she would have been a good candidate to replace Asuka. But
if it's not for the title, bear in mind my whole comment was because it's for the title. So I agree with you, Andy. If it wasn't for a title shot, then there's so many more options, and well, anyone could have won it. To be fair, couldn't they?
But there's people that, I mean, like, you know, in 2001, you probably would have said Edge was most likely because he was the most over. In 2000, Kurt was probably the most likely to win it. But, you know, it's one of those things where the person who's most likely to win it usually wins it. But in the past, it's not meant they get a world title shot other than Brock. But I think
well,
Brock's an outlier.
not religiously. I mean, in the end, Owen got his match at SummerSlam. Mabel got his match at SummerSlam.
But they were during times when, like you said before, the business wasn't as diverse or as thick with talent as they are now. You know, like you said before, 93, 94, 95 was like, take your pick out of the generic dustbin man, plumber, dentist, you know, that sort of thing. Having a King of the Ring as your gimmick made you over either as a face or a heel. It made you the thing. So you were either the all-conquering hero or the shit-housing heel. And that was either something to get behind or not, you know. So
I don't know, for me, I'll just jump in here and give you my 2 pennies worth. I've got no issues with Randy being in the final, and the 2 women I have no issues with. It just goes back to our conversation last week. Cody should have had a rematch when he lost the title. Jay should have had a rematch when he lost the title. Gunther should have had an immediate rematch when he lost the title. Shouldn't have had to wait. If you're going to have someone, say for example, they put Randy over on Saturday, why not put a Penta in there? Why not put a Bron Breakker in there? Why not have someone like an LA Knight in there? Someone that's not a main event established player to give you that sense of, actually, I don't know who's going to win here, or almost fighting for the underdog. Whereas you've got Cody and you've got Randy, and although I really want to see it and I'm really looking forward to the match, it's kind of like whoever wins there's nothing new. Like, and we're assuming that Cena beats Punk as well. I mean, chances are he's going to. However, like, why not have a Bronson Reed or a Penta? And why not have Roxanne Perez or Julia against Jade Cargill? Like, Asuka can easily have a program with Io Sky. They're already teasing it now, so it just for me, just add a little bit of intrigue to the finals, as opposed to kind of know that Cody Rhodes is going to win, and the other one you flip a coin. But either way, I'm not particularly interested in either of those 2 wrestlers.
Is Cody Rhodes going to win? Because this is another flip side. So we're saying Randy Orton's going to lose 2 King of the Ring finals in a year. I do not think Randy's going to win. What about if he wins, and that's part of the heel turn for Cody? Because this is another scenario where Cody can't make the tough decision, and it costs him big time. Because I think it's too early for him to take the title off Cena. I don't think he needs it at SummerSlam. And Jade Cargill, she needs to be in the ring with someone that can wrestle and lead the match. That's probably why Asuka's in there. I mean, having said that, Alexa Bliss could have done that easily, to be fair. And to be fair, Charlotte Flair versus Jade Cargill, probably, as much as you might not like her, probably would have been the better match. But
that's what I called. Yeah. I called that Charlotte and Mangill in the final, and Cargill will win. My only thing with Cody is I do think he wins, because I think he goes to SummerSlam and we get a Rock Hogan situation where the crowd are so over for Cena, and and Cody will then
make the tough decision.
He'll make the tough decision. He'll hit Cena with a belt, whatever. The crowd goes mad, and throw bags of shit at him. He wins the championship and turns heel. Like, it makes perfect sense. I just would have liked to seen some fresh meat in the finals to give us a little bit of, what if bloody Penta wins or Bron Breakker wins the King of the Ring and Seth's got Money in the Bank? Like, how cool would that be if Bron was ruling Raw and went for the World Heavyweight Championship and Seth cashed in on Cena, Cody, Punk, whoever's the champ come SummerSlam?
Why was the undefeated Large Coffee not even in the qualifiers?
Too busy. Too busy. However, that was a really good debate, gentlemen, or delving deep into this week's roundtable. Appreciate your takes. Before we get out of here, this section is called Pop or Drop. Just want you to mention one sentence for something that made you pop this week in WWE and one that made you drop. If you want me to go first, I can.
Yes.
Gunther's promo made me pop, and CM Punk laying in the ring for 8 minutes or whatever it was made me drop. Andy?
I'm just trying to think. What made me pop? Oh, yeah, I'll tell you what made me pop. As a fan, Karrion Kross saying "Got him" made me pop. I found that quite funny. And what made me drop? Oh, yeah, I suppose the news of 16 weeks of no Liv. That really made me drop.
Dirty Dave?
Gunther's promo on Goldberg is my pop. My drop is the shocking. I mean, I can't believe the chances in this. How can two people both be injured at the exact same time? How can Large Coffee and Chad Gable both be out at the same time? As if Liv Morgan, the summer of Liv is over. Dom's done himself an injury trying to do himself in the shower. And now we've lost Chad Gable and El Grande Americano. Can't cope. It's my drop of the week.
Them's the breaks, gentlemen. And that's going to do us for this week's show. Guys, thank you as always. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back with more chaos, more takes, and hopefully fewer injuries next week. If you're watching on YouTube, drop your pop or drop in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the show if you had a good time. This is Holla If You Hear Me. Adios, amigos. We'll catch you on the next one.
Sayonara.